everybody, welcome to the Anthony and Todd Show. We are a weekly podcast that critiques and memes music. I'm your host, Trevor, aka There's Only 12 Grain Left, rapper screaming all in our ears like we're deaf, aka Trevor the Creator, aka Dump Truck Shower Boy. And I'm joined by my ever-attentive co-host, my best friend, my pal, my amigo, my droog, Vincent.
aka Jailbreak the N64. Bah, 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 bah. Bah, bah, bah. I guess I don't remember that song as much as I do. I guess I forget how the metal sounds.
It's actually just Banjo-Kazooie theme song after
that. aka Vincent, the creator of Stuff on Dreams.
This is episode 82 of the Anthony and Top Show, an episode we would like to call Young Frankenstein, all songs written, produced, and arranged by Tyler Okonma. Incredible. This week we've only got 2 reviews. First, LA rapper slash producer Tyler the Creator returns with his new album, Igor. First one since 2017's Flower Boy. And then Arizona hip-hop trio Injury Reserve make their major label debut with their new self-titled album, Injury Reserve.
I thought it was called Brockhampton.
It is called Saturation 4.
Oh, shit. Yeah, before we start today's intro demo, or shitty intro demo, our theme song is Scramble, produced by me in my grandma's bedroom.
I like that one. That was good.
Okay.
I think Injury Reserve should have named their album Team Effort.
And you know what? It was a team effort. Tyler, Creator, getting all these features on Igor.
And not mentioning any of them on the actual tracks.
Time to get into a review of Tyler, Creator's Igor.
Tyler, Creator has been creating quite a buzz in the hip-hop world for a long time now. He's part of Odd Future, Wolfgang Kill 'Em All, with Earl Sweatshirt, Frank Ocean, Casey Veggies,
Haji Beats, Dama Genesis,
some other people that don't really matter.
Frank Ocean.
Nobody broke out except for like those first 3.
Sid.
Oh yeah,
Sid's the exception.
Sid Vicious was in. Yep. And a lot of his albums have been really polarizing with lyrics and production, especially Bastard and Wolf.
Yeah.
And Goblin.
Yeah.
Just a lot of really edgy stuff going on.
Yeah, because his beginning career was like very horrorcore-esque, even though he says it's not horrorcore.
Insane Clown Posse.
Yeah, it's very like horrorcore-esque, and as time went on, especially with like Wolf, it got more very jazz-inspired, going into Cherry Bomb, which I think where this narrative becomes most important in 2015, where it was very like a mix of like jazz, and you get mix of like punk and hip-hop.
That was 2015?
Yeah.
I thought it was like 2013.
No, 2015
wow.
Came out the year we graduated.
Yeah.
Mix of like all these different genres all over the place. The mixing on it was shitty. It was very intended to be shitty, but it didn't make it good because it was intended to be. And it was kind of all over the place. But I think he took ideas from Cherry Bomb, put them onto Flower Boy, and then was very introspective, talking about his mental health, his career, being famous, the treacheries of it, and also his sexuality on Flower Boy, which is my favorite album 2017. I just think it's lovely jazz, almost soul, hip-hop. I think it's just so luscious and beautiful, and it was an album I needed in the time I got it, the time it was released. And then we get teaser. Also, he released a EP for Grinch.
Oh, yeah,
which I think also kind of plays into here in parts, which is weird. He released the EP for Grinch.
I was listening to this and I was like, this is the same guy that did the Grinch soundtrack. I completely forgot. Like somebody who represented Dr. Seuss allowed this man to make the soundtrack for the Grinch.
And that plays on here. We didn't get any singles. We just got 15-second snippets of tracks that kind of seemed all over the place. It really reminded me of Cherry Bomb, but it wasn't as polished as Flower Boy, and he told us not to expect any genres. And I kind of expect that from Tyler, but it reminded me a lot of the Flower Boy, but it seemed a lot more polished.
Yeah.
As experimental hip-hop, or kind of like pseudo kind of industrial hip-hop, or just loud hip-hop. It seemed more polished in the sense of it just the compositions were more meaningful and not just all over the place for all over the place sake. It was experimentation done right, of the fine tuning of it. This thing has a lot of features on it. None of them are credited, which I think is good because these features range from like kind of a full verse like Little Uzi Vert or Playboi Carti, basically, or like CeeLo, he has a full verse, to just kind of background voices or even like hard to tell that they're there. Like Slow Tie, he's on one of these tracks. I don't
like no idea.
I can't hear the Britishness. I do not taste the tea.
I think I heard "God Save the Queen" playing really faintly in the background, but I wasn't 100% sure.
But just kind of going over this entire thing. This thing's listening to it the first time. I enjoyed it, and I felt like it was a polished, well-crafted album, production-wise and performance-wise. I just felt like the narrative was missing, and it wasn't until I listened to it. On the second listen, it kind of resonated with me more of the sound. Third listen, which was earlier today, was more of the narrative structure of this album that really what meant to me. Because it's similar to what Tyler's done in similar projects, which is talking about girls or talking about love, not really going into detail. On this, he kind of constructs a well-crafted arc of unrequited love and acceptance of it, which is nice. Especially the end of that, the acceptance, I think is the biggest thing. The follow through, the aftermath is what the big
With
part of
Pharrell.
with Pharrell. Pharrell's like, "Are you okay?" And Tyler's, "No." "Can we be friends?" Pharrell, No.
I have too many friends.
I have to go work on Despicable Me 4. Maybe that's how he got the Illumination contract, because he's friends with Pharrell.
No, they're not friends, remember?
So this thing, I think Tyler on this is kind of more portraying an Igor character. And I don't know. On this one, I don't feel like it's really personal to him. Not saying this album isn't well spoken for. I feel like this is just more of a character than more of Tyler's actual life.
I'm not so saying sure. I feel like he puts himself in the shoes of Igor. Like that's what he sees himself as.
Yeah.
Not so much like he's putting on a character, but like that's who he sees himself as. Is like more of an Igor kind of character, which I think is really cool.
Yeah.
Nobody ever talks about Igor except for that one movie that came out like multiple years ago. Remember that?
Yeah.
But being this kind of like, I mean, just kind of like a peon kind of assistant figure, one that's not really talked about, doesn't really speak, doesn't really do anything unless asked. I think that's like a really interesting character to put yourself in.
Yeah. So starting out with Ego's theme, which has a plethora of Little Uzi Vert, who I think everyone at first chance did not know was Little Uzi Vert from hearing the snippet.
I definitely didn't.
I swear to God, I thought it was Tyler. It's the pitching. I just assumed anything's pitched to Tyler at this point. Going on later with CeeLo Green, at first I thought that was Tyler just because of the pitching, even though it's probably more vocal, I guess, vocal control than Tyler has. But I just assumed it was pitching.
That's true, yeah.
Little Uzi Vert, I think, does a great job. This is probably his best performance besides I don't really care if you cry.
Yeah, honestly, I really enjoyed Igor's theme. It reminds me of like it kind of reminds me of like a coming of age movie like intro sequence. I really enjoy it. All I can imagine is Tyler riding around on like a bike and just riding around town.
Going into EARFQUAKE with Charlie Wilson and Playboi Carti and Jesse Wilson. Such a climactic, weird, saturated soul track. Tyler is coming out. Not coming out. He did that last album. Tyler is requiting his love and saying, "Don't go, it's my fault." Just constantly this like last effort to save a relationship. I really like it. I think the Playboi Carti voice verse, I like it. I just don't understand what it has to do. I think that's like any type of Playboi Carti's feature. It doesn't make sense. It's like Almeida with Solange.
Yeah.
I don't think his part made sense, but I like that it's there, and I like the charisma of it. I would like a little bit more Carti, though, because I think his verse is pretty short. But anyway, I enjoy this track to death. I think it's very soulful. Anytime Charlie Wilson and Tyler Creator come together, it works out really well. Especially anytime Charlie Wilson and Kanye come together, it works out really well. I think with Solange is on a few tracks on this album. Anytime she shows up in the background vocals, it works out really well. It's kind of like a reverse of When I Get Home.
Yeah.
So now she's kind of the background vocals. It also has that like almost kind of feature layout at Solange's last album too, because some of them could stay around for verses, but some of them could just be like words that they're saying, or they're just part of the background melody for a second. I like that nature, because it's not like this album's not as like, I think, roaming as Solange was, or just like kind of
It doesn't feel like I'm falling.
or traveling.
Yeah. It feels like it's an actual story that's being told and it has arcs.
These are just like minor characters that show up.
Yeah,
like, one
I was
scene.
just thinking, it reminds me of if Tyler tried to put on like a one-man show, like just kind of like a an art piece, like a really weird art piece, just kind of a one-man show kind of thing, and all of his friends came to like help him out and do a lot of like backstage work, about a lot of backstage vocals, like B minor characters. That's like what all of these features serve as.
Yeah.
All I can think of is like obviously the focus is on Tyler wanting to tell his story, tell this story of Igor or whoever he wants to be, but everybody else is there just to kind of like push him along and help him out.
I think in running out of time, or kind of these continuing with Earthquake, are kind of these last ditch efforts to get this love, and mentioning that his love interest has a partner and he wants them dead, going to New Magic Wand where he's thinking about killing them, and mentions this, hey, has a new magic wand, which is an allusion to a gun, thinking about these violent thoughts against his love interest partner, going to A Boy Is a Gun where he thinks his love interest partner is going to kill him because it's breaking his heart. Theoretically, I like how both these moments on New Magic Wand, I love the hecticness. I think Santa Gold's like very kind of higher pitched, frailer vocals really work with Tyler's, and the rush of aggression on that track really fits. Kind of what he did with Tori Ma on Cherry Bomb. That I forget the track what it was, but it fits. It's like a similar style to what he did with Tori Ma, and I like it better on this because I think Santa Gold does a way better job of it. A Boy Is a Gun is just, it's heartbreaking. I like Solange's addition to it. It really works, and continuing on theme of how he's getting heartbroken. Puppet is a fantastic moment. Kanye West's vocals and his little kind of like almost freestyle feature verse part, I think is love. I like how it's not full verse. I like that spontaneity of it, how he kind of just shows up and he's gone. He kind of gets taken over by the production. I think Tyler's vocals on that are some of the best we've seen to date. They're very like, they're just very quiet, mournful, but it works really well. I just like the chillness of it, and it's the final effort. He's under control by her, and at some point he's got to give up, going into What's Good and Gone and Thank You. I just love the What's Good. I love how this is one of the more rap heavy rap heavy tracks on this album. The only problem I have with it is the Dracula line, which straight up just sounds like he's just taking the rhythm of This Is America, but just saying Dracula. I think it fits in his character to say something like that, because he's had tracks about how he's like, I think it was on Transylvania on Goblin, where he says, I'm Dracula, bitch, don't have a problem with smacking a bitch. So, like, I think it's funny.
Obviously, he likes Dracula.
I think it's funny, but, like, I think it's just kind of too stupid. It gets to the edge where I think this is when Tyler gets kind of annoying. But I like the track as a whole. I think that's the one moment, because he explains his reasoning and kind of matures on these tracks and starts to, I guess, accept that she's not going to love him. And it works, and I like these ideas, and he's getting out this aggression and this pain, and I like it, but it's that one line kind of throws up the nature of it.
This track reminds me a lot of, I think this is most reminiscent of his older work as well. It reminds me of, like, Downwell 23.
Yeah.
Or, like, pretty much anything off of, like, Goblin.
Yeah.
It's just, really, like, gruff voice. Dracula, that kind of thing. Also, the synth work at the beginning is super catchy.
Yeah.
Like, I really like this track for what it was. It makes me wonder, like, why I didn't like old Tyler anyway.
Because it was too spontaneity, too over the place. I think you didn't like it because it's also too stupid. It was all Dracula.
I think the Dracula line was funny.
It's funny, but I think
it's really weird.
Yeah. Gone. Thank You with CeeLo. CeeLo's performance is amazing.
This is one of my favorite tracks. I think it reminds me a lot of Mr. Lonely.
Yeah, no, it's this. I don't. Gone. Thank You. I Don't Love You Anymore. And Are We Still Friends are just all mature states where I think Tyler, if he's singing or whether it's rapping, everything on him, he's golden on those tracks. He's not doing anything wrong. Like, he's not making any, like, lines that are nonsensical to the character, nonsensical to himself, nonsensical to anything. I think everything he's saying is perfect. Pitch perfect on those 3 tracks. This is the perfect conclusion. CeeLo's edition, LaRouk's edition, Ryan Beatty and Solange's edition. I almost kicked up the mic saying because that's how much I like these tracks.
The
Pharrell's.
interpolation of happy from Despicable Me 2.
Are You Still Friends with Pharrell? That edition kind of continuing the Pharrell last track, Flower Boy. I think it's nice.
Yeah.
I think just the layout of how he's accepting that this person's not going to love him, accepting how he has to essentially stop beating himself over it. He can't change things that he can't control, and he just wants to be friends. He just wants to be friends with the person at the end. He doesn't want to end on a bad episode, and he doesn't want to end the season on a bad episode. I just like the nature of just kind of coming terms with unrequited love. I think it really works out in this entire record. It's just really smart for someone who hasn't been too smart, at least on his more adolescent work.
This really reminded me of Kevin Abstract. Mm-hmm. Something that American Boyfriend, I thought was it was an alright album with some decent tracks on there. I think this is what he wanted to create, and Tyler's finally come up with this like suburban love story. This kind of every man love story is really interesting, and it pans out way better than I ever thought that it would have. I really, really enjoyed this album.
Yeah.
Way more than I thought I would.
Yeah, I could talk about this for days, but I think it's better if I just kind of leave it off there, because I think also one thing I have to mention, the vocals on "I Don't Love You Anymore," the most infectious thing that you'll hear all year of the "I don't love you anymore," I think is pitch perfect with just the infectiousness that it brings, and just essentially just being so basic about what it's having to say, and just continuing that theme, I think is incredible. But I probably should stop talking about this, because I really enjoyed this record. It took a while to grow on me. It took a couple listens, but I really found what's so great about this record. And I think this is it's not his best for me personally, but I think he put a lot of effort and soul, and it came out really good. And I'm really proud of him to continuing of this style of work and showing that he has like a legacy to be had. He isn't the odd future guy. He is an artist that can stand alone. He can produce, he can write, he can arrange, and it all comes out fantastic. I don't really have anything to say. I think this is I don't know. I think this, keeping in mind that all scores are meaningless and futile at this current moment, I think this is a 9. I really enjoyed it.
Give it a 9. This was a good week.
Yeah,
I think
good week. It's good week. It's about to get gooder. You ready to get into the reserve? We have to reserve our injuries. We have to pre-order our injuries, or else they're gonna. Or I don't know.
Let me switch legs before we do that.
Switch legs. Knock from the mic stand, so it's really fucking annoying.
Okay.
Don't make that noise.
Switch foot.
No, fuck switch foot. Injuries. Time to get a review of injury reserves.
Injury reserve.
Brockhampton.
From the hospital. Injury Reserve is an Arizona-based rap trio starring Richie with a T and Stepa J. Groggs as our vocalist and producer Parker Corey. These guys have been on our radar for a little while. The release of Live from the Dentist's Office back in 2015 with some really great tracks on there, like TKTV as well as Yo. I mean, just a really, really great album with a lot of really fun vocals and really fun verses. Like, really cemented these guys as one of the key indie rap groups to watch for. Followed up with Floss back in 2016, which, again, phenomenal. S on Your Chest, 2016 Interlude. Oh shit, all this money. Look Mama, I Made It. I mean, just some really incredible tracks. One of my favorite albums of all time, actually. And of course, in 2017, Drive It Like You Stole It.
Great EP that I think actually cements a lot of the ideas they're doing.
I did as well. Yeah.
This is the expanded version. This is the DLC to Drive It Like It's Stolen. They drive it like it's stolen, and they drove it too fast. Now they're in the injury reserve.
They're in the hospital. Look, Mama, I made it.
Okay, I have to keep up to my commitment I made. If they didn't use that one album art, I'll put it on the screen for the YouTube video.
Yeah.
The one where it's the dentist office and
There are people living.
no, it's the one car.
It's the car that's driven through the dentist
Yeah,
office.
the top floor of it. I said if they didn't use that, I would give them a 0 out of 10. So I have to give them a 0 out of 10 because that's the pitch perfect
All right.
idea of continuation.
If you guys want to check us out on Google
it.
Play Podcast,
that's the end of the podcast.
Yeah.
But I do like this new album art that they did, though. I think it's.
you didn't like it.
I like it now.
I really like it.
I didn't
that
like
green
it.
line reminds me of like when you look into a microscope and there's nothing there.
Yeah, I no. What it reminds me of is there's these. I had to write a paper. So like when I had to submit a photography project in this one class, we had to like find like an influence or inspiration. It could be anything. And I wrote about these one guys that did these art installations. They would take photos of them of these neon aesthetics, and they'd just be weird shapes, but they wouldn't look like neon. They would look natural, and they would be out in like the woods or something. And it'd just be this square of light, and it wouldn't look like. It would just look like an unexplainable source of light that was just happening. And that one stroke of light looks like that. Also, there's a meme online, I'll put that on screen, of Shrek running real fast. I think it's by like indie hip-hop heads on Instagram. I'll put that on screen because that's important too. Shrek's just running really fast, and that's what's creating the green line. He's running too fast for the natural human eye.
Okay. Yeah, I also really enjoy it. It's very like naturalistic. It reminds me a lot of Dram's last album cover where he's like holding the dog.
Yeah.
It's just like really bizarre.
Yeah.
They're just literally sitting out on a field, and Parker Corey looks like he's part of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. But like, let's just get into this. Kicking off with a couple of the singles that they've released. They had Jawbreaker,
Which is great.
Yeah, absolutely great. Sounds like it's being played on these like little childlike instruments.
Yeah.
And it's talking about like putting together fits and putting together like fashion.
And how the fashion industry and how your look is supposed to be assembled and how you're supposed to meet these stereotypes and meet these aesthetics, but in the end it just is stupid. And
also Grog's fits came from there, and the Grog's fit where he's got the World Party shirt by Carhartt on the album art. I want that shirt really bad.
please send us that shirt.
Please send me that shirt.
Please. But like I just like how it's introspective to a scene that one they haven't talked about before, but one I don't think a lot of people have talked before.
Not a lot of people talk about fashion,
Which is weird because
it's also weird because I don't think introverts are just like the leaders in fashion
which
whatsoever.
is weird. You would expect like Kanye to talk about this shit because he has that heavy influence, or someone like Tyler to talk about this shit.
Yeah.
But like,
No,
I like how they do it because
they worked at a Foot Locker, so they know.
Oh yeah, Richie
they
worked at
know
a Foot
about.
Locker. Yeah.
Yeah. I also had a really great feature from Rico Nasty and some really awesome production work I've talked about a little bit by Proteins.
No, Proteins did the hook.
Did they?
They're a punk band, I think.
I thought they did some of the production as well.
I don't know. They could have. I don't know.
It sounds really cool. Moving on to our second single, Jailbreak the Tesla, featuring Aminé.
Which in the March
Elon
playlist,
Musk.
I said I liked the single. I just felt like it was kind of a disappointment and it was being overhyped because I felt like the production was kind of carrying the track. I kind of backtrack on that now. I think Richie's verse is the most adolescent in a good way, childlike, but in a good way. Because it brings out these characteristics of he wants to, back in the day when he jailbreaked his iPod and have all these apps on it, and now he wants to do that with the Tesla. I think it's great. It's very fun, lighthearted. Mine has a great job. I like his flow. He fits perfectly.
It's one of his best verses, honestly, in a long time.
Since Caroline.
Yeah, since Caroline.
And I like the production. I think that's because it doesn't have an outro. It's hard to reminisce on what Richie and Aminé have to say. Instead, you're just reminiscing on the production and the jailbreak the Tesla. That's the only thing like really comes out. It's not what Richie has to say. It's more just the production.
Yeah.
And that's my biggest problem with the track. I like the track. I just think it needed an outro of some type. Similar to how Get the Fuck Out, which we'll talk about later, has that middle section with the strings, which would be weird if it didn't for Grog's verse, since it's a little bit more sorrowful and meaningful, and it's not all hype and JPEG's not screaming.
Yeah. And then their third single, which opens the album, Koruna and Lime, which I was a little unsure about at first, but then it really grew on me. I found myself to really enjoy that track. Very experimental.
And it kind of sets up the themes of this album, but this is the lighthearted version, and then as the album progresses, we get these darker themes of fame and kind of upcoming.
Yeah. I think Koruna and Lime moving into Jawbreaker are some really great starting moments. I'm surprised that Jawbreaker made it onto the album. It felt just kind of like single material, but I also know that they're not really known to do just singles. I think it fits in really well where it is.
I think the transition's a little off-putting, but
yeah,
it's just the transition, not the tracks.
Right. Moving into Get the Fuck Up with Jailbreak Mafia and Cakes to Killa, who was also featured on Floss.
Cakes to Killa dominates this beat.
Oh yeah,
that was a good pick. JPEG, not a bad pick, great pick. Bad listening him as feature because he's essentially just sampled on this track and doing ad libs.
This is honestly probably my least favorite track on the record. JPEG is not used to his fullest potential. I feel like, not like I was lied to, but like I wish that they had used more of him, and I wish he had like an actual feature because I think that the two parties would work really well together. But instead, we literally just got a bunch of like off tempo screaming.
Yeah,
which I don't know.
It's not bad off tempo screaming.
It's not bad. It's just like I said. It's just a little disappointing.
Yeah.
I just wish it was a little more. But overall, yeah, Case to Killa absolutely dominates on here. I'm glad that they keep bringing him back because he just keeps wowing me.
Yeah, he hasn't really done a lot since Floss. At least
I haven't seen him do anything since Floss. Going into this QWERTY interlude with little QWERTY is kind of just weird.
It kind of continues the themes that kind of present on
Whatever,
Jailbreak
like
the
30
Tesla,
seconds.
talking about how like he would bootleg stuff, and it kind of loops and glitches out. It's a nice little interlude.
Yeah, moving into Jailbreak the Tesla, which we talked about. Moving into Gravy and Biscuits, where we start to get more in like a melodic feel.
Yeah.
It's a shorter track, but I still really enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
It feels
like
a lot more like a beat.
Has that 90s like swing to it.
Yeah.
It feels like a flamenco track at times too. Just that rotation of it.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Rap song tutorial is a simple concept, but it's done so fantastically. Like,
It's a little corny, I think, but I still enjoy it. Also, the beginning with the lady talking reminds me of Midnight Marauders, a Tribe Called Quest, like their
But
guide
here's
through.
why I think it does so well. It takes it doesn't show, but like it makes out the idea that making a rap song super simple in today's age when it's not this simple. I like that idea. Also, how it takes an experimental twist, how the track's very loud, how rich it's still a full track and it's allowed to play out. It's not just the interlude. I like the idea and how it's able to progress and what it has to say. I think it also relates to fame and how people think it's so simple to be famous nowadays because you got people like Playboy Cardi who can just mumble and do stuff. You got Lil Uzi Vert who just cries on the track. He's just really sad and then he quits music. But like a rap song tutorial kind of makes it out to be easy when reality isn't, which I really like.
Yeah, I agree. But moving on to the next one, Wax On with Freddie Gibbs. Feels like they took that tutorial and they made an actual track out of it. Like, I know like Rap Song Tutorial is its own track.
Yeah.
But like it feels like they took that exact same formula and made Wax On with it.
Yeah.
Like after hearing Rap Song Tutorial, I just had that in my mind for the rest of this going forward. Like, I wonder if they used a tutorial for this. I wonder if they used a template for this. Like, I wonder if they just made it based off of that. And Wax On feels like the most like that. Freddie Gibbs' verse, I think, is fun, but it's also a lot of filler.
Yeah.
His interlude is
Compared
just,
to
compared
to Steppa's verse, which is very heart-seating, it's when this album kind of takes a sharper turn.
Yeah.
Especially Steppa talking about his alcoholism and talking about how the fame hasn't really changed his life for the better. It's only kind of made it worse. And that's basically where this album slump begins in like the narrative tone.
Yeah.
I like Freddie's verse. It just again feels like Freddie filler. I like I just like that like combination of styles. I think it really works. What are you looking up?
I'm looking up the sample in this next track.
Okay, going into what a year it's been, where they kind of continue these topics and talking about how their last year, and you think it would be like something really good because they went on 2 tours, they have been doing good, and it's actually really kind of shitty. It's not kind of, it's shitty. They go into ideas. Richie on this track is talking about how on what track is it? What's the track off of Drive It Like It's Stolen? Shit, can't think of it. My hair's broken. He's talking about how he mentioned his dead friend in a verse and how he died. He OD'd.
I don't think that's this one.
Which one is it?
Best Spot in the House.
My brain is broken. I can't remember anything.
This is the one talking about like just being on the road all the time and like just it reminds me a lot of the 2016 Interlude and also like Look Mama I Made It. That sample was just really like poignant to me. It's by a Silver Mount Zion. It's called 13 Angels Standing Guard Around the Side of Your Bed. And I went and listened to that sample alone, and all in the YouTube comments are people commenting and be like, I was sleeping and I saw the face of God as I listened to this song, or like I was in a really dark time in my life and I heard this song and it picked me up. Like, I believe now. Just a really, really crazy like sample that they would choose to use. People are writing about like how this track was written by like otherworldly creatures, like people that are not of this earth, and I mean, just weirded me out. But like the fact that they would use a track like that to sample and talk about like what a year it's been, and how their fame has both like improved their lives, like been able to allow them to pursue like what they've actually wanted to pursue. They obviously don't work at Foot Locker anymore. They are like making music full time as a career, but also like how tough it is to like feed their family or like be on the road all the time. Like, yeah, they have people backing them up, but like it's just been a trip for them.
Yeah. One thing I forgot to mention on Wax line is Steppa's line about how I can't feed my daughter off Twitter feeds.
Yeah.
That was a really important line. I think it's one of the poignant things on this album, how it kind of describes their ascent and how it ascent and fame and how it hasn't really changed their life.
Right.
Which I think is great. Moving on to Hello and Best Spot in the House, I think kind of continuate these ideas. Oh, Hello is very...
it's just a kind of a vocal interlude.
It's very isolating.
Auto-tune.
I feel Richie feels like he just isn't heard. He's just kind of isolated himself in his own world because of the fame, or because of his career, because being on tour, it's just very like isolated. He's stuck in this place, and I really enjoy that as a little intro. Best Spot in the House, I think is...
This is the Dead Friend one.
This is the one where Richie talks about...
Yeah, he mentions his friend Joshua back on Drive It Like It's Stolen, who died from an overdose.
Yeah.
And he's talking about like how he couldn't even like show up to the funeral. He was too scared to like come to the funeral, and how he didn't text him when he knew that he was struggling, and he didn't check in on him, and he didn't like put in his best effort. And now like he's using his death as inspiration and narrative in a track. Yeah. And he's like, I feel really shitty about this. Like, what do I do? It just made me think about like how so many other artists are doing a very like similar thing.
It made me think about how artists compose narratives.
Yes.
And I don't think that track has a statement on that besides Richie's personal statement, but it made me think about it.
It's just my own like conclusions derived.
Yeah.
Both Richie and Steppa are talking about deaths or near-death experiences. In the next verse, we're talking about Chuck, who like had a heart attack and was playing basketball, and he was in a coma. And Steppa was like, I will come visit you every single day. Yeah. Like, I'll text you every single day, whatever. And finally, like, luckily the guy got better. Mm-hmm. And like 2 years later was coming to their shows and stuff. And he was like, I'm like, thank God that you're still here. But it just shows like there are two different ways that like it can turn out. Yeah. Things like that. Very unexpected.
Yeah. New Hawaii with Drum. Drum's such a perfect fit. Drum has that like fireplace-like voice.
It's very warm.
Yeah,
it's
like,
not him at the beginning either.
No.
That's Tony Velour. And I was like, these vocals are not up to par. At first I thought it was Dram because he was listed first in the features. I was like, what happened to you? And then later on I heard him and I was like, man, we should have just had him the whole time.
Yeah. Drum, going back to his fireplace-like voice, it can be warm regardless of the location. Like, you could have a fire in like a barrel and be on the street and it would still warm you up. Or it could be in your house and you could be comfortable. On this, he's like in an abandoned location with a barrel fire. It's essentially Drum warms up this cold location. I like that contrast of sound. I think it really works. Going into these tough themes, going into these just ideas on the track, I think it just really works. That was a great feature.
This track, moving from Best Spot in the House, it just gives this like coldness of like an abandoned home. Uh-huh. And now on New Hawaii, I still like had that kind of feel. Moving from the last track forward into this one, it just felt like everything was like really cold and icy, and Dram warmed it up and just made me feel like nice and comfortable. And then Richie's verse about like love and marriage and thinking about like his kids with this woman is just beautiful.
Yeah,
Like it's really cute.
Finally admitting to finding love and actually thinking about his future with his partner is beautiful, and I really like it. It's a nice thing to kind of warm you up to go into Free Wave Me, which is a very nice outro. How they talk about how one point in their life basketball was the most important thing to them, and how none of them were good at it, but now
It's really like basketball centric. It's with this like almost electric violin sample and production by Parker's. I think it's some of his best on the record. With the verses about like how they wanted to play basketball and they all just sucked, and so they like kept going with something else that they were good at.
Yeah.
And now they're in the position that they're in.
Also brings up the idea of how like people always, the stereotype is African American people always want to be one of two things: a rapper or a basketball player.
Rap or go to the league.
Yeah, rap or go to the league. But I think it brings up that idea on here, but it also brings up the idea of how things in your life are not as meaningful as you think they are.
Yeah.
At least in the current situation, especially when you're younger.
I also like that it perfectly just shows the chemistry between these three guys. Injury Reserve's chemistry is one of the things that really draws me to them in the first place. Like, I think that they just all bounce off each other so well, and they work as a unit so well. Three-man weave, like the name of the basketball drill that they're referencing, like just reminds me like they're all part of the team anyway. Like even when they sucked at basketball and couldn't make the team, they made their own team, and like now that's what they're doing. Also, these like basketball arena sounds that are infused into the production, I think are really cool.
Yeah.
Definitely my favorite track on here.
Yeah, and I think that's about it for this record. I really liked it. I think they talk about so much in such a short amount of time. They make it every moment count for the most part. Other than just some like very, very minor slip-ups, like listing JPEG as a feature, not really using them for the fullest, and kind of not really having an outro on Jailbreak the Tesla. I think they kind of hit on the head for the most part. There's nothing. This is how a major label's debut should be. You follow these artists while they're in the underground, while they're independent, and then they come sign through a major label, and it doesn't feel like a softcore reboot. Doesn't feel like we're getting the same thing like Brockhampton when they signed to RCA. It was... Iridescence was softcore reboot.
Just a little rocky.
This, I feel like they're kind of doing some rebootish things to establish their character, because they're talking about previous subjects, but it doesn't feel like we're just getting a rehash.
It makes sense because now they're talking about the fame that they are living under with the new label.
Yeah.
As well, like their callbacks to older records, like the rehash of the line from S on Your Chest about taking a Tesla to West Coast Customs and Jailbreak the Tesla, I thought was awesome. Having Cakes to Killa back on was just a great callback. Having a lot of the same drums and TKTV from Live at the Dentist's Office in New Hawaii, I thought was really cool. Just like a lot of really neat callbacks if you're a fan and have been following them. They definitely understand their fans and they just want to do them well.
Yeah, I think this is a great album, keeping in mind that all scores are meaningless and futile at this current moment. I think this is a 9. I really enjoyed it.
I'm also going to give it a 9. This has been a good week.
This has been a good week. We were also going to do Carly Rae Jepsen, but Trevor didn't listen to that because he's a loser. But I also like that as well. So it was a really good week then. So that'll be next
Talk
week.
about that next week. As well as DJ Khaled, maybe.
If you want to.
I'm not sure I want to.
I guess it's only fitting.
I was right about Trippie Redd, though.
Till next time, guys. I've been Vincent.
I'm Trevor.
And if you wanna,
Just check us out. You can find us.
You can find us on all the podcasts. Make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all at Anthony and Todd, Twitch at the Anthony and Todd Show. If you want to support us monetarily, at patreon.com/the
Buy me that shirt.
You can buy me that.
Richie's wearing.
Yeah.
I think I might actually
Was it
buy
Richie
that.
or was it Steppa?
Oh, shoot, it was Steppa.
Yeah.
You're right.
And this has been episode 82 of the Anthony and Todd Show, an episode we like to call
I don't remember what this is.
Young Frankenstein.
Oh, yeah. Young Frankenstein. All songs written, produced, and arranged by Tyler Okonma.
And see ya, boyos.
Bye, everybody.